Hello, beautiful souls. So, listen, I had to jump off. Most of you know that I usually do podcasts and blogs and cloudisms because I'm inspired. And I'm very inspired, mostly by the people I work with. You are my inspiration. You're my inspiration. And you give me ideas, and things begin to pop for me, and I start to really get transmissions. So today is going to be a vlog. And blogs, I talk about tools, truths, and transmissions. So a few caveats because it's a little bit on the fly, which is how I work. I still, look at me. I still use even legal paper and I write everything down as I'm going. So first caveat is that I will be reading. Because as I jot down, I share with you. So I've gotten a lot better, you guys, at editing when I'm looking at my notes, but you know that I'm looking at notes that I've written down. Okay. Number two, caveats. Yes, I'm wearing a lot of pink today. It's just one of those vibes. I feel very, very pink like today. Let's jump in. Today's vlog is about how to handle and how to manage when you are in recovery from addictions, alcohol, narcissistic abuse, codependence, the ex who keeps knocking on the door. When you've done all of that work, when you have crawled your way through spaces, when you have been in therapy, when you have listened to the podcast, when you have been on your knees crying, journaling all of the inner journey work, and you feel like you finally have boundaries, or in the Empath Leader book, I talk a lot about parameters, perimeters, and preferences, because those are the ways that we become more sovereign, because we know our parameters and we know the perimeter around our heart, and we know what we prefer and how we prefer to be treated. That's going to be a cloudism, by the way, the PPP, parameters, perimeters, preferences. Write that down. Write that down in your PhD on Me journal. Okay. And you feel like your life is just getting better. You feel cleaner. You're walking around the world. You're more able to distinguish what's good for you, what's not. You've marked a few boundaries. Really good to go. Okay. And then, like Al Pacino in The Godfather 3, do you remember that? That might date me, but he says, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. And what he's talking about is the mafia. He's talking about that he has been out, that he's tried to have a legal life, that he's tried to raise his kids in a legal life, and that slowly the old neighborhood, what I call the old neighborhood, and check out my cloudism on hitting the border that we hit before we up level. Well, our family, the old neighborhood, the people in our old neighborhood, our race, our ethnicity, all of that tries to pull us back in. And it makes sense. They're afraid that we're leaving. Their abandonment wound gets hit. So they try to pull you back in. And all of that makes sense. Those are visitations. Check out the one on cloudism on visitations, the Ebenezer Scrooge approach, which means that we get revisited by old patterns, old friends, old issues, family of origin, to see, like Ebenezer Scrooge, if we are ready, if we are solidly, for those of you who are spiritual in our new timeline, for those of you who want to talk about it psychologically, that we've actually healed from those attachment patterns, emotional patterns, or psychological patterns. For those of you who want to talk about it intellectually, if we've actually just up-leveled and outgrown a certain stage of life that we're in. No matter what, we're on this border. And like Ebenezer Scrooge, the reason why I call it the Ebenezer Scrooge approach is that he got 3 dreams. And dream work is amazing. I love dream work because it offers you the opportunity to have the feelings, the sensation, and the experience of making a choice, like Ebenezer Scrooge, without actually having to play it out in your conscious life. Okay? So these are Ebenezer Scrooge visitations. Go to my Cloudism and check that out. Okay, hold on. So Al Pacino, back to Al Pacino. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Okay. So you're having your heaven on earth life, your clean life, your new life, boundaries, preferences, parameters, perimeters. And your mom calls and says your dad's really sick. Or your ex calls and says, hey, they've discovered I have cancer. Or the narcissistic sibling or person that you knew who you finally broke away from, you finally did it, calls back. And usually they say they're sick, they're in jail, they were in a car accident, some sort of crisis is happening that pulls on the heartstrings. And I call that emotional molestation, especially if you are an empath. And most of the folks on this channel really resonate with being an empath. And there's a vlog I did called Emotional Molestation, and it is a little triggering because we talk about getting our hearts molested through situations like this. Situations where the empath or you, if you're just a human, a kind-hearted, caring human, if you hear that someone's in jail or has cancer or is sick or is dying or lost their job, right? Or is in a breakup or can't live without you, all the reasons that you are given to be pulled back in like Al Pacino, okay? It's really hard in those moments to say no. So hard. Now, I have the Cloudism moonwalk out where I give you a decision tree. This is going to be similar, but it's a little more intense because you've already cleaned up. Because you've spent so much time healing. And because the way that you get pulled back by whatever source that is through something that's really strong, which is guilt. Just feeling bad for the person, just actually having empathy, which is a beautiful human response. And if you have heard me talk before, it's that you care, and care has kept our human species alive. The downside has been that there have been pathological people, there have been very wounded people who've refused to heal, there have been narcissists who know how to pull on the heartstrings, pedophiles, sexual traffickers, it's eternal, cult leaders who pull on the heart, who pull on your natural, beautiful, organic human ability, skill, gift, human characteristic of caring. Okay, so what do you do then? And I'm going to be looking at my notes. I don't think I'm going to edit me looking down out. Number one. So this one is way more serious than Moonwalk Out because of everything I just described, the whole scene I just said. Okay. You must, non-negotiable, write it down, circle it, underline it. You must have a strategy. You must have a strategy when you go back to the family reunion where there's narcissism, where they used to tease you, where you used to get bullied, all of that. You must have a strategy to go back to any place that knows how to emotionally molest you. You have to have a strategy, and you do not do it alone. You do not strategize alone. Find the people around you, your therapist, someone like me, a group, a support group, your 12-step group, where you can talk about this to get support, where your new tribe is healed. They know this path. They know how hard it is. Your recovery group of whatever you're recovering from. I love to say that, I'm a recovering codependent, or I love to say that I'm in recovery, because we're all in some ways in recovery from the life that we were born into. All of us. All of us. You in India, you in Australia, you in England, you in the United States, everyone I'm talking to right now, we're all in recovery, hopefully, if you're watching this channel, likely from the life we were born into. Okay, number one, strategy. When you're in 12 steps, you don't just go back into the bar. You don't just open your computer and see if you can browse porn sites. No. You have to have a strategy as to how you go back to the places that used to tempt you into harming yourself. These are places of self-sabotage, of self-destruction, of harming yourself. Even the narcissist, for that moment where you were like, he's the one who harms me, or she's the one who harms me. No, when in this position, when we choose to go back to these scenarios, we have to strategize to not self-destruct. Do you get this? Do you get how serious it is? Number two, be prepared to be provoked. So even the phone call, even the text message, even the email where they reach back out to you is a provocation. It provokes you because you are triggered by their ailment, triggered by the hard luck that has come upon them. It's provocative. You want to respond. That impulse or that compulsion to respond is really hard. How about this? Sometimes they come back and the provocation is they act like they're healed. They might use the language that you use. They might talk about narcissism. They might talk about codependence. But unless you know for sure that they have spent months in treatment, in 12-step groups, in recovery groups, in codependent groups, that they've been sober for a while, unless they have a full-on documented track record, know that these are just provocations, that these are ways to pull you back in, right? They must come back with hardcore documentation that they have done the work, because you, my loves, have done the work. So at this point in your journey, it must be mutual, reciprocal. They can't just walk through the door anymore looking sexy. No. Crying. No. Feeling sick. No. They have to show you that something has radically changed. The difference from this one than the cloudism, moonwalk out, is that this vlog requires so much more thought. Okay, so they have to show you formally beyond the provocations, the temptations, the emotional molestation, and the triggering. So that's number two, beyond the provocation, let's call it. Number one is strategize, frame, have steps. And in those steps is your exit out, but that's going to be the last part. Okay, so number three, trust. Trust. Do you see how passionate I am in this vlog? Trust your intuition. You must have feeling awareness. Remember when you were healing. Remember when you were in those therapy sessions. Remember that you said to yourself, I should have known. I saw the red flag. I saw the pink flag. I saw the yellow flag. And I passed that exit. I call it passing the exit. You kept passing the exits. You knew it. You knew it. You knew it like at volume 2. Then you knew it at volume 4. Then you knew it at volume 6. And you kept passing your intuitive exits. Not this round. Number 3 is that the first feeling you have, maybe the second, but I wouldn't go past the second. The second intuitive hit you have, you listen to it. You just say to yourself, now I trust myself. I have cleaned out my emotional and psychological closet. So any little vibe, any little discomfort, any little headache you get, any little tightening in your stomach, you say yes to it. Yes way. You say, yes, I honor myself. I honor it. I will not pass this exit. Because that awareness, especially now that you're cleaned up, remember, these are for you, my loves, who have been doing the healing journey. You listen to it. Now, this could be a parent. This could be a child, an addict child that keeps coming back. This is definitely an ex. Now, it's going to be tricky because if your parent has cancer now, okay, and you decide, I'm going to go back, but first I'm having a strategy. Second, I'm going to have a plan around my triggers and provocations. Third, I'm going to really listen to my intuition, my feeling. And ultimately, for those of you who are spiritual, remember, this is psycho-spiritual. I'm going to listen to source, to my guides, my ancestors. I'm going to listen to my angels, my higher consciousness. I'm going to listen to, for those of you in recovery, to higher power. Okay, so let me check. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, when you're back in, when your ex calls, when your mom calls and starts saying the same thing, when your brother calls about your narcissistic dad who you finally broke away from, because remember that the rest of the family, the rest of the neighborhood, the rest of the group is going to get pulled in if they haven't done the inner journey, if they have not healed, if they have not marked preferences and boundaries. Remember, they're going to get pulled in. So it might be someone else who calls you to pull you back in with provocations, triggers, emotional molestations. And it might not be conscious. It might be unconscious because they haven't done the healing work. So they're still under the veil. The curtain hasn't pulled up, but it has for you. So during that conversation, you might say, wow, seriously? Oh, yeah. You might have responses all along knowing I will not get pulled in. I have compassion and empathy, and I understand that you're getting pulled in. Now, I talk about this a lot. Just recently did a podcast on gossip because sometimes at your workplace, in your family, maybe even a good friend will try and gossip, will try and demean someone else, will try and pull you in actively, right? Because maybe your sibling doesn't know how to handle that your narcissistic parent is sick. So they want you to trauma bond. One way to handle it is to validate by saying, wow, that sounds hard. That must be tough. I really get what you're feeling, because all of those are authentic answers. Let's say someone at work wants to gossip. Those are the answers. That sounds hard. How did that make you feel? I just did that whole podcast. But you do not have to trauma bond. You do not have to gossip join. You do not have to. You can stay authentic and empathic without falling into the swamp, the web of what's happening. I call it that must be hard responses. I need to give you tools for this. You've got to have answers. You've got to have tools. You've got to know how to have a response. And that's a strategy. That's a strategy. And it's an authentic strategy. It is not manipulation. It must be authentic. So let me keep going. I don't know what number I'm on. I think I'm on number 5. I don't know what number I'm on, but you must have your radical truth. Your radical truth. This vlog is about being radical because you've done harder, my love. You've done way harder. You've been hurt. You've been ignored. You've done way harder. You've been invisibilized. Way harder. So what I'm about to tell you is hard, but not as hard as that. So remember your journey and your stripes. Okay, so radical truth. I will not hurt myself anymore. I will not put myself in situations or with people where I get hurt again. And I don't mean it like, oh, I've given up on love. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about toxic situations. So you hold up your card, your radical truth card that says, I will not hurt myself anymore. And one of the ways to not hurt yourself and respond to situations where maybe a parent is sick, respond to situations where maybe someone you loved is in a crisis. You respond gently, authentically, empathically, and beautifully, but you know you will radically not hurt yourself anymore. Okay? All right. Here's the last step. I know I'm missing something because I do this because I get inspired, so I get transmissions. All my vlogs are tools, truths, and transmissions. All right. Number 6, or the last one. Trust. Do you remember that when you were in the toxic situation, when you were in moments of incredible discomfort or misalignment or depression or anxiety, where people would tell you, listen, something is up. You're not the same. We can feel it. Where people were warning you, they were worried about you, they cared, and you didn't listen. You didn't listen because you were still in the thick of it. You were in the swamp. All of us are. You were still drinking, using, porning, whatever. Toxic stuff, right? In our wounds, dripping in the wound. We didn't know how to heal yet. But there were those angels, those earth angels who said, I see you and I see that something is happening, right? But you couldn't get yourself out of it. And maybe sometimes you were defensive. You were like, no, that's not true. And it turned out to be true. Down the line. It was true down the line. It played out. You crashed and burned. You hit bottom. The tower did fall. You crashed and burned. Okay? Well, now you know. Now you have that experience. Now you know how to play the long game. Now, what do I mean? Let's say that in that Al Pacino moment where they're trying to pull you back in, you decide that you can't go back home. You decide that you can have empathy for your ex, but you know it's too toxic. You know, because of your exits, because of your intuition, because of your provocations, maybe you're still triggered. You decide, I can't do this. Can't do it. Can't hurt myself. Okay, that's one example. The other example is you decide to go back to the family reunion. You decide to go visit your ex in the hospital. You decide to go help your mom helping your narcissistic dad. Whatever. You decide to go back. And you realize, oof, in spite of my strategy, in spite of my ability to know my exits, in spite of all of that, this is still pulling me into swampland. This is still too hard. This is still too triggering. I don't feel like I'm strong enough yet. Even if you're in the midst of it, you decided to go back. You get to pull out your card. I wrote it down here. And you can back out. You can moonwalk out. You can say, I know it's the night before I take the flight, but I can't do it because of the step before, because it's going to hurt me. Okay. This is the long game. They might say, you're a bad daughter, you're a bad son, you're a bad friend. You're not down with the neighborhood anymore. They might say all of that. Yep, they might. They might say it in the moment. You're a betrayer, you're an abandoner. They might say all of that. And I want to say it to you again. You've done harder, my love. You've been talked about before. You've done harder, my love. And you know what's harder? Is to put yourself through it. Is to put yourself through the toxicity again. And then feel like you've relapsed. That's harder. That's harder than pulling out. Than saying, I can't do it. I won't do it. It crosses my parameters, my perimeters, and my preferences. So have the long game. Have the long game. And this is the long game. And then with this, I'll finish. The long game is this. And I've been a psychotherapist for 25 years, and this is my personal experience. If the old neighborhood, if your family, if your narcissistic parent, if your narcissistic ex, if your toxic relationship, if the people who are still using, still drinking, using, porning, whatever it is that is for you, my loves, if they haven't done the inner work, if they haven't gone to therapy, if they haven't done everything they can to try and heal those patterns, trust the long game. Just like you, there is a crash and burn. It is a train wreck ready to happen. There will be a tower moment. Because that's what humanity does. It does it in our country. It does it in our political systems. It does it. We crash and burn at some point when we're not being good to ourselves, to others, or the planet. There are tower moments. We do hit bottom. We crash and burn when we are not good to others, ourselves, or the planet. The rooster comes to roost. I don't know what the saying is. It does happen. Hold still. Hold. Lighthouse. Even if they say you're a bad daughter, you're a bad lover, you're a bad friend, hold. Now, this is very different for the people who are doing the work, who are struggling with their patterns, who have decided to heal. That's mutual. That's reciprocal. That's when we can say, let's walk this journey together. And the family members who did the work, who buckled down, who said, oh my gosh, I'm going to make amends. I'm going to say I'm sorry. I'm going to be in recovery. Now that I will walk with. Same thing with my clients. That's who I'm going to do the work with. People who are just strapping on, putting their helmets on and saying, yeah, I'm going to do this work. Because it betters me, it betters the world, it betters my family, all those ripples. But if they haven't done the work, hold tight, my loves, and wait for the long game. Wait. You've done harder. So, I'm sure I missed something in all of this and all of my inspiration. but I really wanted to give you this today. Take it and run. I'll be doing more. As always, look for me in the next Cloudism vlog and Heaven on Earth podcast.